The largest aviation museum in Egypt is found within Cairo, not too far away from the city's airport. Showcasing a wide range of aircraft from mostly Soviet-Russian origin, there are some rarities here that are not very commonly found in aviation museums elsewhere in the world. Today I am here at the Egyptian Air Force Museum at Cairo. Now this is one where as a tourist you're going to need your passport in order to get entry past the main gate, but once you're in, you have a fantastic view of the history of the Egyptian Air Force. Found along the main road leading towards the airport, the museum is on an active military base, but tourists can still visit as long as they pass the security post with their passport. Once obtaining the entry ticket, the majority of the aircraft are set out in a semicircle underneath a large metal shelter. Before this is reached, there are 4 aircraft on show, 2 of which are American designed and 1 each of Spanish and Chinese origin. Representing some of Egypt's more recent air power are examples of the McDonnell Douglas F-4 Phantom and the General Dynamics F-16. Both of these are in grey schemes with large orange day-glow markings. The trainer aircraft are a Hispano SA-200 Saita, licensed built as the Helwan HA-200, and the Chinese Nanchang JL-8. Moving on to the main display area, this is dominated by an all-natural metal Tupolev TU 16 Badger. These large Soviet-built bombers can only be found in museums within a small number of countries around the world. In Egyptian service, they took part in the wars against Israel, and the missiles these aircraft carried are also preserved. From left to right, the first exhibits underneath the metal cover are helicopters of the Egyptian Air Force. 1 each of the MIL-4 Hound, MIL-6 Hook and MIL-8 Hip are found within the museum. This museum holds a very impressive array of aircraft, and some that are very unusual to find in the West, such as this MIL-6 helicopter. Just like with the Tupolev Tu-16, the MIL-6 helicopter is not a common sight at all within aviation museums. It certainly dwarfs the other helicopters besides it, and it has been opened up for a full view of the cockpit and cabin. You can even go inside the MIL-6 helicopter. I'm sitting here now at the forward position by the gun. A smaller Soviet transport helicopter is found besides the Mil-6 Hook, painted in the same overall desert scheme and heavily armed with a total of 4 rocket pods. Besides the helicopters is an Antonov An-2, a common sight as a utility aircraft for many Soviet-supplied air forces. 2 more Egyptian trainer aircraft are on show after this, being the Aero L-29 and the Yakovlev Yak-18. On the right hand side of the display hangar covering are mostly Soviet designed fighters and ground attack bombers, though this lineup starts with the French built Dassault Mirage 5. A return to Soviet designs leads on to the Mikoyan MiG-21, the backbone of Egyptian fighter forces during both the Six-Day War and the Yom Kippur War. 3 of Sukhoi's large fighter bombers follows on from this, the first 2 being Sukhoi Su-20s with variable sweep wings, and the third being the Sukhoi Su-7 with fixed wings. Unusually, 2 of these attack aircraft are in a silver scheme, whereas the desert camouflage was much more common owing to the terrain that these aircraft fought over. Two Mikoyan fighters are by the opposite end, one being an all-over silver Mikoyan MiG-17 and the other being the Mikoyan MiG-19, this one sporting a 2-tone grey scheme instead of natural metal. The last major aircraft here is the Ilyushin IL-14, the Soviet Union's successor to their license-built version of the Douglas C-47, which was known as the Lusanov Li-2. The museum also contains an indoor display area, though there are only a few more aircraft within this to see. Most impressive are some murals painted on the walls, some of which being decidedly anti-Israeli. Whilst most of Egypt's early aircraft aren't represented here, types that made up the Air Force in the 1940s and 1950s are at least documented in these pictures. One unusual aircraft held here represents Egypt's attempts to build their own fighter, this being the Helwan HA-300. Originally starting off as a Spanish project, Egypt continued the project until 1969, when it was cancelled in favour of obtaining Soviet-designed aircraft instead. All 3 of the HA-300 prototypes still exist today, the other 2 being located in Germany. The last aircraft in this video represents what the Egyptians procured instead, a Mikoyan MiG-21 fishbed. Immaculately kept in a 3-tone scheme found on several different Egyptian Air Force aircraft types, this type represents a later version of the fishbed with a canopy that hinged to the right. Beginning with the MF variants in the 1970s, Egypt received newer variations of the Mikoyan MiG-21s and kept them in service until the turn of the 21st century. With all the murals on the wall depicting Egyptian aircraft taking out Israeli McDonnell Douglas F-4 Phantoms, it's only fitting that the wreckage of one of these fighter bombers is found on display in one corner of the museum. If you have enjoyed this video on the Egyptian Air Force Museum, why not leave a like and follow my channel for more, and I'll bring you many more places from Egypt, as well as many other air museums from the rest of the world. However, until next time, see you around.